Good morning, buddy. Hello, honey. Good morning. You're not interested? Oh, hello. Doop, doop, doop. Buddy, why are you crying? Why are you crying? Hi, Eleanor.
Hey guys, how are you? Welcome back to my channel. It's me, Steven. So you can tell I'm in my garage. You've never seen my garage, have you? Right here in the back, I've got this big blank wall. I eventually want to put some shelves up there to maximize space. The other owners used to hang bicycles off those hooks right there. I don't have a bicycle, but we'll see about adding some storage space. You can see I've got my fancy washer and dryer over there. You can also see a pile of dirty clothes in front of said washer and dryer. There is a lot of dirty clothes over there. It's a significant pile. It would sap your will to live if you saw how much laundry I really have to do. So I'll do a couple loads tomorrow. But thankfully I have one fresh uniform. Part of it's right there for my trip tomorrow night. I think I'm going to Baltimore tomorrow. But that's my garage. One part you're not going to see because it's a mess is on my left. I've got 3 shelves, and a lot of it is Goodwill purchases. You know, it's been a habit of mine to go to Goodwill. It's becoming a habit. I can't resist. I'm like addicted to Goodwill. But I've been buying a lot of stuff. Originally, it was stuff for me and for me to use in my home. But then I would see some really fun item and think, oh, that will do well on eBay. Years and years and years and years ago, when eBay was the only horse in the race when it came to selling things online, I was a madman selling things. I worked at Neiman Marcus, and I'll tell you, I got so much free crap, skincare, fragrances, and just all manner of things. And I sold every single piece on eBay for some extra spending cash. I'll tell you, samples, cosmetic samples, I would just throw them as I got them into a box, just a little box like this big. And when that box was full, I'd post it on eBay and people would fight over that box of samples. It'd be $300 that I would get in the mail or in PayPal for samples. It was crazy. Those days were gorgeous. But I've been collecting things now to sell primarily on eBay. Nothing for me, but that is going to be my little space that I use to store pieces for eBay and also maybe to, you know, store packaging and stuff like that. So that will be a little adventure to come in the future. I hit Goodwill yesterday. I'm going to need an intervention for Goodwill at some point. And I think I hit Goodwill a few days ago as well. It's been too windy to go out to like Red Rock or anything. So I go to Goodwill instead. But I have a whole bunch of really cool stuff that I've purchased recently. One item, as a teaser for that video, one item, I paid $6.99, less than $7, well, $7, for an item that I have been researching online and that is often sold, well, not often because it's kind of rare, but it's been sold online in a number of different venues from $700 to $1,500 for this item that I paid $7 for. So it has a little bit of damage, but nothing catastrophic. So it may not get like $700, but if I get a couple $100 for this thing I spent $7 for, hello, big win. So I'm very excited about trying to find a way to sell that without being scammed, because my friend Randy has been warning me that there are scams everywhere with things like this, but I digress. Buddy's gonna start crying for me because he hears me talking, but so let me show you my little workspace. This is a workbench that the original owner of this house, when it was built, this condo, he was the handyman for the whole complex. And so he had this little workbench built, and I'm sort of making it into a glazing decorating station, at least until it gets too hot. It's already warm in here now, and it's only the end of March. In a couple weeks, it'll be way too hot. So I'm gonna have to move my operation upstairs to the second bathroom. But let me show you the workspace, and I'll show you some pots that I've recently received from the kiln. and that's where the pieces are fired. And then I can show you some pieces that are in progress. I'm glazing one and I'm getting ready to assemble another piece. So let me show you my little studio space here. Okay. Oh, have I told you how much I hate my neighbors? I don't think I have, but it is 11:15 and they are hammering on the wall. I just can't stand them. But I digress. I'm complaining. This is the little workspace. It's not very well organized. It will be the next time it gets cool enough to really make this a dedicated glazing and decorating area. But right here, you're going to see a couple of my assignments for class. One of the assignments was to make a cup and a pour over, a little set. And I don't know if you can see the color on the glaze here or the texture, but it's like a black glaze with like a denim speckle with blue and green and cream kind of poking through. Can you see those colors at all? But so this is the cup. I don't mind the cup so much. I like this little detail of the carving. Can you hear that little hammering in the background? It's driving me crazy. And this is the pour over, which I'll never use ever. But the pour over sits inside the top of the coffee cup as so. That is how I designed my little pour over. I'll never use it, but maybe I'll use the cup. I don't know. But this was an assignment and sort of a test piece for the glaze, so I can see how this glaze performs. The only good news is that it stays where you put it. It doesn't run. And this is a good, solid, heavy 3 coats. So I learned a lot from this piece. It's stoneware. I used black underglaze to make the clay look like that. That's unglazed, but that's the stoneware underneath. So this is one of my first assignments. Let me put this down. Another assignment, I am in the process of glazing. And this is gonna look pretty horrific. You can see the glaze is all textured. This is what the glaze looked like on that last piece I just showed you before it was fired. So all those little specks you saw, all those little clumps of stuff are going to turn into different specks. So I used that same glaze, but I put another one called Olive Float over it with different ingredients along the rim that will melt faster. And so there should be some cascading of colors and textures. So I'm hoping that turns out well. This was an assignment, it was to make a pasta bowl with like a flatter bottom instead of the rounded bottom that I prefer. So that is one of my assignments. I have to bring this to the studio to have it fired. I forgot to take it tonight. Here's my banding wheel I bought in Columbus. This is one of my other assignments. This is a ramen bowl that I was supposed to make. It's a success and a failure at the same time. I don't think you can see the inside because it's all white on white, but the glaze is all crazed. There's little cracks throughout the bottom of the pot. You can see it's kind of oval. See how it's not round? It's more like shaped like an ostrich egg instead. I think the fact that it changed shape while it was firing created these little lines, these cracks. But it was a good example of what I want to work with in the future in terms of decorating it. This is the decoration for this pot. No real intent. I just liked sort of the random swaths of black and white and red. So I really like how that turned out. I just have to practice on a pot that's not going to craze like that. So it's a success and a failure at the same time. This I made around the same time. You can probably tell by the decoration here. I really love this little bowl. It's around the size of my hand. I love this one swipe of black in the back. I really, really dig how this is looking. So I'm gonna do this again or something like it on a larger scale. So I'm really happy with this little bowl here. This is what I call ghost bowl. If you know my channel, long ago I talked about these. This, what originally there was a pot on the wheel that I cut off because it was a failure, it was a mistake. There was a little bit of clay left over on the wheel, so I centered it and I threw a little bowl. and this is what came out of it. So this is for me to remind myself that even if something fails, something can come out of it. And that is what I call a ghost bowl. These are examples of something that the instructor wanted us to make as an experiment, sort of a lesson, is a piece with a rolled rim. So I just kind of folded this rim over as I threw it. He wanted us to sort of decorate it with these little futzy bits and then kind of add volume by cutting in here. But in the end, this just looks like someone's butt. It just looks like a pair of buttocks right there to me. So this has been bisque fired, so it's been fired once. I'm using it as a test piece to practice using underglazes like watercolors, because I have an idea I want to do in the future. So right now it's just holding paintbrushes. This is a little urn sort of shape that I don't mind. I think I would have liked it better had I had more control and kept the opening a little smaller. So this has been bisque fired. I might glaze it just to sort of practice and see what, as a test piece, to see what some of my glazes do in combination. Right now it's just holding pieces of bone dry clay that I'll eventually just break up into little pieces, add a little bit of water, and what happens is it turns into this kind of slurry that we call slip, and it just looks like melted clay or like yogurt or something. So what I'll do is I'll put this in a squeeze bottle, and later on, after I give you this tour, I'm going to show you some pieces in the studio that I took earlier, some video I took earlier, where I used this squeeze bottle and I made little dots around the rim of a couple of my bowls. And when it's fired, there's going to be little raised dots in a little pattern that I thought was very nice. So you'll see that in a moment. But I used this slip to make those little dots that you'll see shortly. What else do I want to show you? Oh, yeah. So those are the pieces I have recently received from the studio out of the kiln, and a piece I'm working on. Let me show you a piece I'm trying to assemble. So hold on one sec. All right, so this is something I'm calling a wet box. Some people have a wet room, some people have a wet closet. I've seen people use little miniature greenhouses as a wet room. So they'll keep it super humid inside there so they can keep pottery in a state that can be worked on for longer than it would normally be. So this is going to be the body of a teapot. So this edge, this raised edge you see here, I'm going to trim that away. So this rim, this top here is going to be flush with the top of this sort of round body. And I threw a lid, which is right here. This is the flange that will sit inside the top here. So I threw that lid. I'll pop that in here at some point when it's dry enough. And this is the spout that I threw this today. So that's the spout. So at some point when these are ready to be assembled, I'll cut this in the angle it needs to be, and I will then attach it so that it comes off the front of the teapot. This is clearly way too big for the size of the teapot, so I'll cut it down. It'll probably be using about this much instead of what you see here. But these pieces are freshly thrown today. I threw these pieces 3 days ago, 2 or 3 days ago. So to keep it wet inside here or damp inside, I've got water around the edge of what was the lid to this box. So I've got a little trail of water in here and a soaking wet sponge inside this little box so that it will stay humid enough and wet enough in there that I'll be able to come back to these pieces in a few days when I get back from my trip. And I can work on them and finish assembling them. And hopefully the wet pieces and the drier pieces will sort of come to match each other in levels of humidity, which is terribly important when you're working with pottery. And then the last piece of that teapot, I hope I'm not boring the pants off you. If you're still watching, you're the best. Right over here, I threw a handle. Now, most people would pull a handle or extrude a handle or use a coil or something, but what I did instead was I wrapped it really tight because I have to be gone for a few days for work. But, so what I did was I centered some clay and I opened it up on the wheel. This is a round bat that I use, and you can probably see it from here. So there's a round wall of clay that I tried to shape in kind of a rough oval form like that. And so I've got this big round piece that when it sets up a little bit more and becomes a little bit more firm, I can cut what I need and then attach it to my teapot as its handle. And I'll go in with a couple different tools and I'll kind of shave away the amount of clay that I don't want on there. So I threw a handle instead of making one in a more simple way. So that will be the handle for my teapot. Now I'm hoping this all works, and if it doesn't, well, I'll have learned something, but there you go. Is there anything else to say? Let's see. This is a piece that I threw 4 days ago. This was going to be the handle for my teapot, but I forgot to wrap it very well and it dried out completely. But this is bone dry. So what I'm gonna do with this, as my clay cost me like $25 a bag, I'm going to break this up and pound it into a powder to make more of my slip, because I plan on doing a lot of decorating with slip in the future.
Well, here's one bowl that I decorated with slip trailing, which is just little beads of slip. I put that around the edge of the bowl. There's the bowl. It's got a good foot. And the other bowl has been placed inside someone else's bowl. So that's the other bowl I did with slip trailing.
All right, that's it for my little tour of my garage and my little workspace and my current pieces of pottery in progress. I'm gonna go in the house and give the cats their treats. Buddy has been crying for my attention. So I will see you guys later. You have a great night and fly safe. All right, bye.